What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Creek. Super excited for today's episode. A lot of you guys listening are owner-operators and perform a lot of duties into the business. Well, this is all about quality. So when you have to run the business and you want to be on the job site, this episode is for you. When you want to make sure that your crews get it done right, your customers are satisfied, you get referrals and reviews, this episode is for you. So stay tuned. How we're going to learn how Derrick went from a flatwork contractor and added on coatings to expand his business. Owner-operator, when quality matters. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another amazing episode of Beyond the Creek podcast. Super excited for today's guest. And as you guys know, we are all about business growth, and we're entering in season 3 of Beyond the Creek. So this is 2025, and we know that 2024 was a very unique year. 2025, with the economical challenges, maybe some new political stuff, we think that it's going to be a really good year. So we're talking all about business growth and bringing on a lot of key players in the industry to make sure that you guys are able to level up your coatings and your flatwork business in 2025. So without further delay, let's bring on Derrick Weber. Thanks for coming into the podcast.
How you doing, Pete?
Very good. Very good.
Good.
Yeah. So let's jump kind of right into it. Why don't you kind of give like your 2-minute bio, who you are and kind of what you do?
Derrick Weber with Dynamic Concrete. We're based out of Big Lake, Minnesota. We specialize in flatwork concrete, decorative concrete, and getting more and more into coatings. We started in, trying to blank on years now, 2018. We've been, 2017. Do a lot more. A majority is backyard stuff, patios, pools, still doing driveways and stuff like that. Over the last 3 years, we've slowly transitioned into more, also doing coatings, which we'd like to do a lot more. And yeah, that's where we're at now.
Yeah. So we kind of go back to the beginning and stuff. How did you kind of get into concrete? I mean, like, how did Dynamics start, right? Were you kind of working on a flat work crew beforehand, or is this kind of like, hey, let's go?
So in many ways, I was born into concrete. My uncles did it. I worked with them in the summer. Tried going to school and just said it's not for me, because at that time, everyone said you had to go to school to become successful in life back then. Started residential, did block work, flat work, new houses. Then the recession hit. Well, at first, I guess I became a union finisher, did commercial work. Then shortly after that, the recession hit. Did a lot of traveling, doing highway heavy, just whatever I could do to stay busy over those times. Being young, wasn't a family then or stuff like that, so easier to travel and whatnot. And then came back, did commercial work for 11 years as a union finisher, and then nothing wrong with that side. It's just all the guys that started teaching me how to do things right, it kind of just seemed like everything kind of turned into more quantity over quality, and I'm a quality guy, so that's when I decided to start Dynamic Concrete. And it was just taking whatever you can get, and we just kind of found a niche doing stamp work, and that's just kind of where it went, and that's the majority of our work now. So
yeah. Do you think you kind of maybe went towards residential based on quality over quantity, right? Do you kind of
100%, yeah,
see that? Yeah, that way, kind of the difference in that. I mean, did you see that in your own findings?
Yeah, yes. Commercial work, yeah, a lot of things are less forgiving, but it's the road it's being anal is a good and bad thing, but that's just what we like. We like putting out a quality product, and it's getting harder and harder to please people these days, but that's why we keep pushing towards, having our work being what we believe is some of the best in Minnesota. So
yeah. And so as you guys kind of got up and running and stuff like that, like especially you were in the trades commercial during '08, right? We saw all that kind of the downturn, stuff like that. And then as you kind of started yours on the marketing side of things, what did you guys do? Like as a brand new business, what was your kind of like your first go-to marketing? Facebook wasn't really huge. I mean, '08, '09, but obviously back when you started in 17, it was pretty big.
Yep.
Was that kind of more of your route or more just networking?
I mean, I started off with side jobs and family and stuff like that, and then it's just as I wanted to go full time, it was you know definitely Facebook. Back then when I started, it was garage sales sites, all that stuff. That's where I would push stuff in the area. Little bit of referrals, and then as you start your business page and stuff like that, just it was easier to boost your post back then. And I mean, we're with a pool company, so there's 3 to 4 jobs a month with that, and then just now it's gradually just moved into a lot more referral. Yes, we do use Facebook and stuff like that. It's what I found for us is hit her hard in the spring and hit her hard in the fall. And as spring with concrete, you can book out 2 to 3 months in advance. Coatings is a little different, it seems like, but just and then and then it gradually comes in through the summers. Your 4th of July, everything kind of dies down, and then I always ramp up in the fall because that's when people generally are like, "Oh shit, I forgot I wanted to get this done this year before freeze up," and then hit her hard again, and then that usually brings us into as far as concrete goes, our season generally ends. Everywhere is different. Every year is different, but early November to Thanksgiving is usually what we'll get to. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And kind of one of the things that we've seen, at least in the coding side, is that's primarily the same story, right? Small time, side work, kind of doing a couple jobs here and there, typical residential work, right? You can kind of get paid for the most part, and advertising isn't as much. Say if you're going to go take on, say, 100,000 square foot building, or trying to find out those GCs. Now, like you kind of mentioned that you were kind of doing some work with some pool guys. Do you guys traditionally um, do new construction, existing construction? Like, where's kind of like your niche in just the actual residential,
Yeah,
homeownership?
we do very little new construction outside of it being a new neighborhood. And, trying you get your custom stuff or whatever that they always offer the little stuff. We'll get calls for people who want bigger patios or want their garage floor done right away without them being moved in. But as far as new construction, though, I tried dabbling in it at the beginning. It's just, uh, uh, it's value wise, it wasn't for the size of my company. I understand totally bigger companies how they do it, but for what we have to do, it'd be very hard for me to leave jobs on the concrete side of things. It wasn't profitable for me.
Sure.
So we focused on just, especially hitting new neighborhoods. The pool deal, I mean, pools are kind of all over. They can be new construction, but it's all mostly just very little new construction. So
Yeah.
unless it's a friend or a, a, a family member or something
Right.
like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. So you're not traditionally doing a ton of subbing out or getting subbed out by other GCs per se. I mean, the majority of your work is really realistically referrals from existing homeowners.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. Well,
We don't deal with any general contractors. Just like the pool company will refer us, just because, we we're used to working with each other. So, but we probably get about 50 to 60% of pools. The nice thing about being with the pool company is because we're always right behind them, where a lot of other companies will be a month, 2 months booked out. So we always just kind of say we'll be there right behind them to make the process of getting your yard back a lot easier. So
yeah. 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 Yeah, that's important. The coding side of things too, obviously, as you kind of get into doing residential work and being able to flip floors essentially as soon as possible.
yeah, and that's where a lot of our coatings have. I mean, so far referrals. We do get a lot more work concrete wise, but we're wanting to grow and to have doing much more coating or just as much as we do concrete weekly. Hopefully that's the plan, but that's been more referrals or just before the garage swing us. Do you know a guy? Yeah, we do it. And then, you know what I mean? It's just, and then, which makes our life for grinding and all that other stuff much more fun when it
Yeah.
comes to the end of it.
Yeah, if you can sell the job before you pour the concrete, you got a quite the advantage,
Yeah.
right? Don't burn the shit out of it, kind of one of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so that's a good point too. As guys are kind of listening to this, they might have an existing business, whether it's concrete or drywall, siding, painting. Let's just randomly say that they have a painting business for 4, 5, 10 years, and they got an existing customer base. One, they're getting a lot of referrals and stuff too, but they're also a trusted contractor with the prior referral base and kind of going back to that. Are you seeing some guys that you maybe done some floors with, resealing some stamp work and stuff coming back and then being like, hey, I want coatings, right? Kind of a new
Yeah.
offering.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a big deal. And I think that's one thing that kind of a thing that I kind of want to touch on is because if you're not utilizing a CRM and that stuff we can touch on, um, Joist and Builder or some of the jobbers and go high levels and stuff that we'll touch on. But if you guys are utilizing those for your other business, you have an existing customer base that needs to be reached out to, text and email campaigns and everything that way too. And you're going to have hundreds of customers that you're going to start with on your side. So I hear quite a bit where people are really nervous of saying, I have an existing concrete business that runs, it's fine, and I'm going to start my coatings because I'm getting asked. Beautiful, and you're going to be able to continually get work, but you got 2, 3, 4, 10 years of existing customers you can go back to. And I don't
yep,
think people
for sure.
utilize that type of networking or that type of relationship as much as they should starting out.
No, 100%. And CRMs have been, I mean, I always pride myself on being, but getting back to people super quickly, and obviously CRMs do all this. I like the personal aspect of it, my side of it, but I'm looking into utilizing more of that side of things too. It's, I guess for me, it's just the one-on-one conversations. That's just always how I like doing it. But I mean, there's you got to get over that if you want to grow. You know what I mean too. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I know back, it's been a while now since I've had mine, but before technology really kind of hit, or some people are just, they're just jotting down a name and number on a post-it note, and if they don't get that job, they might just that name gets lost, you
oh
know,
yeah, yep,
you
yep.
know. Um, and so
Yeah,
just being
there's
able to kind of
definitely from when I started to now, I like keep track of everything and getting back to people. And I mean, I've grown in that aspect, but it's just can become so much better. You're always, I mean, no matter how good you are at something or what you are, you have no idea what it is to run an actual business until you get into it. You know what I mean? I mean, if you're going into it, full board, just one, yeah, I do great work. Well, yeah, but there's so much more to it than just that aspect of it. So,
yeah, yeah. Um, so what are you guys kind of doing now for estimates, right? So you go give an estimate and software wise, like what do you guys traditionally do and what has worked?
um, I always, I mean, I've just gone through QuickBooks. I send my estimates through QuickBooks. That's why I can turn it into an invoice and all that stuff. So I always meet with the customer. Um, I'm very upfront with the good and bad side of everything. I mean, obviously more good in what you do, but I just like to keep people aware, especially in Minnesota. Um, so we go through the process of everything, time frame, and then I send out the estimate through QuickBooks. I'll do if they don't get back right away, I'll do a weekly follow up. I'm not too pushy. I just like to see if they have any questions, and even just doing that because I'm just talking personally as a consumer. I can't stand being bothered by something if I don't want it.
Mhm.
But um, I have found even just a simple follow up email or text, and they're like, oh, a lot of them just put it in the vet. You know what I mean? And then it you get jobs. It's just simple stuff. I mean, 50% of those they'll come right back to you and say, yeah, we want this and da da da. When are you good to go? So,
Yeah,
but I
right.
mean, my estimating process is pretty simple, or not simple, I should say, but I just think being very upfront and you know I do them all personally yet. So it's we land 50 to 60% of our estimates. So it's,
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
but we're it's also scheduling with what I can do with my sites crew. So
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it kind of brings up a good point though. Technology kind of running through QuickBooks estimations, right? So you can send it to them. Obviously, they can digitally accept it or decline or right, whatever that is.
yeah,
And then essentially payment. You can elaborate this if you want to, but like prepayment, post payment, stuff like that, right? Everything's kind of done through QuickBooks, so it's kind of a one and done link, if you will. Kind of, you could
yeah,
obviously
exactly.
keep
Yeah.
adding it, but I mean, it's all in one software, right? I mean, I think people overcomplicate even just the estimation portion or invoicing, and they're not streamlining as much as they can.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. We take 25% down through that. They have the option with all card payments or bank transfer or whatever. So, um, yeah, it's super convenient. I mean, again, I still do kind of everything. So it's easy for me, but it's seeing everything. Again, them responding, you responding back. It's just, it all being in one spot. I was I was trying to work on a CRM last year, and you still using QuickBooks and not getting out of it, and it wasn't jiving the way I wanted. So I just kind of pushed that aside. And, you know, this is what's working for me. I don't, you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
and then guy gets busy, and you know how it goes. So
Well, and that's just it. And there's a lot of guys listening to this that are kind of in the trenches right now, right? So we have guys that are just absolute owner operator, one, two person kind of a show, just kind of trying to do everything. And then guys trying to scale, obviously, say, get off the trailer and stuff. And so I know you've had um, thoughts and experiences and stuff like that on that, right? So like scaling is one thing, having 4 or 5 guys that can physically do your labor is one thing, but when you kind of run dynamic itself, like you're at a level that where you want to be at, right? Like you want to be on all the jobs. Like that's a thing for you. It's not a control thing. It's just
no,
that's like it's
I still enjoy it. I like the camaraderie of being with the crew. I like the BSing and all that stuff. I still really enjoy that. I just I mean, yes, I like to see how everything goes down. I trust my guys, but I it's the whole aspect of it. I like being there for the homeowner state line. But again, I'm a smaller company. Um, but I just enjoy working still. I like being out there still. Yes, does it get frustrating when you got 5 estimates to do at night and stuff like that? But it's it's part of the gig too. So
yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's kind of another thing too, is lately you've heard this big rat race of how fast can you scale your business? How fast can you replace yourself, right? And I know I've said a lot about that too. And, just in general, like you might just lose a key employee or that one didn't work out or whatever it is, or you scale and you're like, oh shit, that ball got dropped, whatever it is. And you're like, oh man, what if I wouldn't have done that, or if I would have brought that back to myself, maybe that ball wouldn't have been dropped. So it's kind of a
yeah,
double-edged sword
for sure. And
with
I've
that.
been super fortunate. My crew's awesome. We all get along super well. We have all the same I mean, that makes it super easy. There's so many, even just helping other companies or, because you get those calls where a guy needs another and it's just people screaming and back and forth and done it. Like there's none of that on it. If I raise my or if I get frustrated with something, it's like everyone just kind of it's like the disappointed dad look where everyone just knows they did something bad and they just kind of we all figure it out and we're good in 5-10 minutes. But it's we get the camaraderie with our crew. It's just expect it's I mean every job's different, but they're all kind of the same. It's just bing bang boom boom boom. Everything knows their product, what we're doing and what needs to get done, and it goes super smooth for us.
Yeah.
I've tried hiring more, but I mean for to do more, but at the same doing what we're doing, and it's just again it comes to the quality thing. I'm not saying it. This is just my way. I like setting up projects, making sure they're 100% ready, so we're not in a hurry, especially when concrete arrives. I mean, every job's different. In some cases, it's easier to set up and pour in one day, but I just like making sure everything's 100%. We got nothing to worry about. Next day we pour, continue that process. That's Coatings, yeah. I mean, again, it's just my crew is a little bit bigger, but I like keeping the guys busy, and I still like being on the job. I'll generally get them going and then go get stuff or whatever. Uh, Same deal. Everyone knows their line. Everyone knows what they got to do. It's just it's awesome having that, and I'm very fortunate. So
Yeah. Yeah, that was gonna be kind of my question is, the guy's been with you, kind of got your systems in for concrete per se. Like, how was it kind of doing more coatings jobs with the same guys, kind of starting your systems and processes over, I guess, 'cause it's different.
yeah, it's for sure. Again, yeah, it's just getting those systems in line. That's no different than like obviously one of them see it too, but and different ways to do coatings, but bringing them and seeing other people do things. So it's just not what I know or how I think to do something, it's just so, because I mean, it's good. I mean, that's how companies work, but you should also see how other people do stuff and take tips and tricks from them and whatnot. And that, in my opinion, it just makes it easier for everyone instead of constantly, there's, I mean, if you're doing it, there's a thousand ways it's going to get, as long as you're doing it right, it's just, it just keeping that the processes in mind, the system in mind, but just knowing the right way to do things. So
Yeah. Well, kind of along those same lines. I mean, at the end of the day, not everything goes perfect 100% of the
no,
time, right? So, um, if you're gonna kind of be an owner operator, essentially you're in your shoes and you're talking to somebody that's listening right now that's either looking to get into it or pretty new into business in general, like shit's gonna happen. It just kind of is.
yeah,
Um, like what has been your experience of just kind of stepping up, doing the right thing? You're probably gonna lose a little money at the end of the day, but I know I'm this way. Karma's a bitch. I don't want to be hit by the bus any more than it is. Like
100%.
I
Yeah,
want to throw somebody a lifeline when they need it versus stepping on their throat, stuff like that. And like when people are starting out like that, it's hard because shit's gonna go wrong. Like, what do you tell somebody like that? That just you just got to say, do it the right way. But what is it? Again, like, what is it that you can say that they're gonna resonate? That like, hey, I've been there, but it always works out in the end.
um, I, I mean, I think your name is one of the most valuable things out there. I good and bad. I mean, it go to the beginning of when I did this little stuff. I would try to go fix everything, even though I know it wasn't my fault. I just had one confrontation or stuff like that. As you grow on, it's just like I've explained this to you. It's in the writing. This is part of being in Minnesota. With concrete, even though you do so many things, there's a lot of uncontrollable things you have. I mean, we can't stop Minnesota from freezing, and we can't stop the world from moving. So I can't guarantee it's not going to hairline crack outside. Just little stuff like that. If it's now, when I know there's been jobs that I thought were ass, and the homeowner loved it. It still wasn't up to our standards that we redid. Um, the coding side, it's just, or I mean, I'm still in that process, but it's just if you follow the system, if you follow it, it's pretty hard to do outside of like some major moisture issues that someone came across or whatever. But if you follow these steps and do all, I mean, clean, 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 get the proper grinding for everything. It's just it's pretty hard to fail, especially with your products. But things can still happen where it's just your name's on the line. What's more important and especially in today's world where it's just a click of a mouse and you look like a piece of shit, um, just ensuring that you're gonna do the right thing for your customer and for your company. So,
Yeah. No, that's just it. Two questions. Do you guys ask for referrals on every, not referrals, or referrals, obviously, or reviews on every job? And if you were to randomly get a bad review, like what does that do for you as a company? And at the end of the day, how big is that in the world of today's technology of people just going like, you know what, piss off. I'm giving you a 1 star, whatever it is.
yeah.
And that's a thing nowadays.
Yeah, we do. we do ask for reviews on every job. I don't push it just again because I don't like being pushy. But fortunate enough, we haven't got a bad review. Uh, we've had customers say, if you fix this, we'll put, you know what I mean? You'll be back in good graces. Um, like talking to other people, a lot of people welcome bad reviews because you can always comment on, say, the process. I mean, not downgrade the customer, but this is what we told you. This is what happened. We offered to do this and stuff like that. That's what people read too. A lot. I mean, everyone likes seeing 5-star reviews for sure. Um, it's it's how you react if you get the bad reviews, which can get you a lot of customers too. So
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think a lot of people, and I mean, I've been not guilty of this, I guess, but somebody might come, a homeowner or whatever, come across with maybe a little bit of criticism in a right, like
oh
maybe
yeah,
like, oh yeah, you didn't do this right or whatever it is, and you get emotional, right? At the end of the day, like
100%.
you get
It
emotional.
is very hard to. We're all humans.
Yeah,
It's very hard to keep the business face uh, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's
yeah,
just, and we all have ran into every certain type of person. For the most part, I've been very well at deciphering which ones I want to work for and which ones not to. But you're still gonna fall in line with some of those that, again, I've done projects where it's like, this is a 7 out of 10. It's passable. I like it. It's not my favorite. It's just, and the homeowner loves it. And then you've done a 10 out of 10 where the customer wants to destroy you. And it's just everybody's different. And it's just knowing how to handle those situations in the right aspects. So,
yeah, yeah. That's another good point too. Is just kind of understanding at the end of the day, it is just business. I mean, as a business owner, somebody you take pride in your work, it's going to bring some emotion into it, but just take a step back, to breathe. I've had to do it myself and
yeah,
try to see it through their perspective. And if something bad happens, just be respectful. And the big thing I can say to anybody is documentation, right? So I know a lot of communication needs to be done written, right? Phone calls are cool. Obviously, we should talk to everybody over the phone, but some of these big stuff in contracts needs to all be written up, because again, I've seen this get burned before on a handshake deal,
yep.
and it only takes them for one thing to say, "Hey, I don't like this coating," or "I got this problem," and you're like, "Well, I didn't cover my ass in any shape, way, or form," and here we
My
are.
first year in business, and again, this was working off referrals and family members and friends, and everyone loves you when you do that stuff, especially when you give them some sort of a deal because you're doing it on the side or whatever. But so I just went. I didn't document as well as I should have. I always look at if you treat people well, they're going to treat you back well, but it
Yeah.
doesn't always work like that. Um, and I had told the customer it was late fall and super wet, and I just said it wasn't a good idea to pour, and it was colored concrete, and I just said it'd be more. It was a pool area, it'd be more ideal to do it in the spring. And they're like, no, we don't care. We want it done. We want to be able to swim in this in the spring. Well, from the moisture, and then it was a very cold winter, caused it to move. We follow all ACI standards as far as joints, and we go above and beyond that. So if you got 4 inches of concrete, you're supposed to do it double that in feet. So 8x8s. What we do, we try to do like 6x6s, 5x5, stuff like that. And it moved. Moisture was underneath, freezing, all that stuff, and there was hairline cracks everywhere. And it was my fault. And I go, you guys, I told you not to, but I didn't do proper documentation. And I said, I will never go through that hassle again.
Right.
It
Right.
was fucking scary, you know?
Well, hopefully, like you said, you learn after one, and right, you don't just
Yeah.
keep beating your head against the wall. But no, I mean, again, that's just kind of what it is. Yeah, documentation, communication in writing, stuff like that. Again, up here in the north, we got a lot of challenges, just winter based. Obviously, the guys in the south got a lot of heat based, and you look at southeast, there's just nothing but a swamp. Obviously, some moisture, right? So, I mean, everybody's got their challenges, and you just got to understand where you're at, and more importantly, what products can actually work in those environments. Because
Yeah,
unfortunately, coatings or concrete, it's not one product works for everything. And again, I'm sure on the concrete side of things, there's probably 75,000 different admixtures and shit you could probably put for any given day. Like, I don't know, it's not my world, but I'm sure you get a little bit of say on something like that.
yeah. I with the supplier I work with, they got a pretty good. They've got their mixes to use in certain situations, whether it's exterior, interior, stand. They've kind of got them locked. Obviously, you can change them up for different situations, but I usually stick with them. It's just every year is different in Minnesota. Last winter was nice. Our driveways, no rock pops, no nothing, just silly stuff like that you get from constant freeze thaw cycles. And we do all the proper curing and sealing and all that stuff to prevent all this stuff. But the next winter could be 4 feet of snow, salt every day on the roads, and cars are bringing that salt on your driveway, and it's all that just that like it doesn't. You can put down whatever you want. You can't always prevent against that stuff, no matter what you put down. It's just being very upfront with, especially that first year of concrete in Minnesota. It's very crucial year. It's just never know what winter is going to bring you here. So it's obviously being, like you said, being very upfront and using the proper chemicals or whatever you need, proper products for that situation. But not all will 100% stop that in Minnesota. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean that's a good point. And anybody that's new into business and just kind of looking at this, listen from some of these veterans, Derrick and everybody else that's been on here, they say the same thing. Communication, being upfront, being honest, obviously, and more importantly, just taking care of shit when it happens, because it's just inevitably
yep,
something's going to happen. It is what it is.
yep.
So kind of as obviously 2024, 2025 sounds like perfect world scenario. You'll hit your marketing hard last fall. Hopefully you're busy, right? Spring coming into 2025. Like, what does 2025 look like? Do you see a change in the industry, right? I want to kind of elaborate, but I'm just going to throw all these at you right away. There's tariffs, there's a presidential change, there's a customer change, right? We got every little damn thing that's deciding to change right now. What have you seen so far, and what have you seen for your business going into 2025?
So 2024 was actually better for us than 2023. I know not a lot of people say that, um, which I mean, yeah, I did a little more marketing and stuff like that, so all that helps. 2025, as far as the change, I mean, business wise, you got to get too political, but what's going on? I mean, it's much better for small businesses and businesses in general. Um, the there's so many aspects I can say about all this stuff. I'll just kind of get to more of the business side. Um, like I said, I come after February is when I really started. We probably got a month's worth of work on the books just from stuff from fall that people decided to back off from, or just a little bit, just random estimates here and there throughout the winter. Um, for me, I the push really comes mid-February, and I've never every year is different. I look forward. I see commercial stepping up and work. I mean, residential. I feel like they're not going to be as hesitant. So just from who I've spoken with and customers and stuff like that. So um, our biggest push has come after Valentine's Day, end of February, is when you get those few nice days come March, and that's when everything starts just kind of coming through. Everybody excited to get out of Minnesota winters, but business wise, I am very confident. I hope to match and if not exceed last year's numbers. And I mean that's always a goal. So,
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, the business side of things, it's good 100%. I'll say 99.9% be much better for small business owners and business owners in general for at least the next 4 years.
I was gonna say we got next couple of years we gotta capitalize
But
on this. And I was talking to another gentleman in the industry the other day, and that's kind of what he's saying. He's like, "Hey, we got 3 years realistically, right before you go to election year, if you will, of just doubling down. I mean, whatever it is, whatever it is that is to you or niche or whatever it is, and adding products or people or marketing, and it's like take this as what I've seen and hearing is homeowners are being a little bit more generous with opening up their wallets, right? Like some people, coatings wise, are down, right? At the end of the day, same with concrete, or like some of it, I guess, it's a want versus a need, like some of it is. And so some of these times,
yes,
like, say August of 2024, they're like, well, I don't want to spend 6 grand on a coating. Maybe in April 2025, they still had the same money and nothing really changed with them that way. They're
100%.
just like,
Yeah.
hey,
I
everything's going to get
mean,
better.
and you had that at the end of last year. Because usually I will say this, expect once kids are back in school, like my phone generally hasn't stopped ringing for the last 4 years, uh, 4 or 5 years, especially since 2020. But people wanting to get projects done before freeze up. It was in that aspect of last year, it was a lot slower as like fall, just because people wanted to see what was going to happen,
Mhm.
my opinion, but I feel most would agree that what was going to happen come November. So that's, I did notice that a lot where it was instead of if, say, I just put out an ad for 2 weeks, my whole fall would be booked up. It was like week by week, where I was actually nervous for a long time, for the first time in a long time. But it all worked out. But it's just usually, yeah, once September hits, it's like those next 3 months are, you know what I mean. But last year was different in that
Yeah.
aspect for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard that quite a bit. I know we saw it a little bit too, because obviously dealing with hundreds of contractors across the country, let's get a lot of different perspective from everybody throughout the country and kind of where it was at. But now that I've kind of gotten through, right, we got through the election, cool, got through inauguration at the end of the day. That was kind of a big deal too. And I mean, we're only freaking 2 weeks off of that. This is just the beginning of February. But yeah, I'm seeing that everybody's kind of more positive, and starting to see more of the residential leads that they were stacking up, like you said, August through December, whatever that was of November. They're either starting to come or they might just chose to postpone their project, but the marketing side of things is actually picking up, right? So at the end of the day, we're not competing against market or um, political ads and miscellaneous stuff like that,
For sure.
So it's a
Yeah.
whole different world of trying to figure out what the marketing side is, and everybody's, super excited for it. So yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
100%.
yeah. So as we kind of sit here beginning of February, obviously at 2025, like adding on coding, that's a big deal for you guys, like kind of going heavier and stuff like that. So like in the next, say, 12 to 4 years, right? If we're going to capitalize on this, where do you see dynamic kind of going and focusing and doubling down on?
No, obviously sticking with quality, and then again, I still like being a part of the crew in some way, but you know, the coding side, I would really, instead of getting those 2 to 3 jobs a month, I would like to get two, three, 4 or 5 jobs a week. And that's my main goal for this year, is actually adding another crew. And this is my fault. Again, it's the me wanting to be on jobs, seeing how everything goes. But I would like to get a crew just installing coatings and a crew pouring concrete, and then go from there and see how everything works out. That's my end goal for 2025. Um, I've met with Danny with Contractor Click, and I've always been kind of hesitant on, but with the size of my company, like what we put into advertising has always worked for us. But when you want to grow, you obviously got to dump more stuff into it and have more resources with that. So we I look to be also using that this year as far as getting way more into having somebody help me with my marketing. So to get that goal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge deal. I know a lot of guys listening. Use Danny, Contractor Click, Maddie, and all the team and everything like that. If you haven't, shameless plug, obviously look into them and stuff like that, or just a marketing team in general. But be careful who you talk to. Again, if you guys are ever cautious or careful, if you want to take on a marketing team or who's vetted or not, feel free to reach out to me. There's some names that I will give you and some that I will tell you to stay away from. Um,
And for me, it was like I redid my website last year, which the company did a good job. It's when I explain what I want on my website, because that's not my forte. I'm not a graphic, any of that stuff. So it always comes out as someone that doesn't know what they're talking about. So that's why I want to go with Dan. He deals with concrete contract or all sorts of contract, but specifically concrete contractors, coatings contractors. Just seeing that on your website where it sounds and looks professional, and also the market side of things, that's, I mean, we've seen Danny around for, I mean, I can think of 2020. I guess that's when I started really trying to pay attention to this stuff as far as the marketing side and whatnot. His resume speaks for himself. So that's just where I'm going with that. So,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, that's their niche. I mean, literally was concrete and marketing crew. I mean,
yeah.
I talk to them all the time, obviously. And, we have the whole Coat Master Lab coaching call and stuff like that. I mean, it's a whole different side of things, but I mean, we talk offline all the time about flat work guys. We starting to kind of get more flat work guys.
Yeah.
Just because I mean it's a niche that most people probably haven't promoted, I guess. I don't really know. It's not my world, obviously, but it sounds like a lot of people are starting to kind of see like the revenue generation side of having somebody on your team like a Danny and them.
For sure. And like you said, niche, like, and there's nothing wrong. I mean, everyone's making money. That's great. A lot of guys in my area just focus on the driveway, more stuff that are get in, get out type stuff. You know what I mean? And that's just why I've always kind of focused on decorative is take your time, do it right, make it look good. And you're going to get calls for that from people who want it. It's just, there's different ways of looking at how to make money. You can do it profitably in every aspect of, both ways of it. It's just a lot of concrete guys are always in a hurry. So they always want to just get on to the next job type deal. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And coatings guys can be guilty of that too, and so taking pride in your work, doing things right the first time and being a man of your word, integrity to follow up if something does go wrong. That kind of sums up everything, realistically.
yeah. Yep.
So, awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Somebody listening to this, where would probably be the best way for them to get a hold of you? Email or just kind of go to the website and kind of if somebody's looking for a
Our
quote or anything
website,
too?
dynamicconcreteminnesota.com, has all our information on there. On our Facebook page, Dynamic Concrete. Yeah, and yeah, we'll have all our info on either of those two sites. Customers, you can get an instant quote on our website if need be, which is another great tool. If you guys want, to kick away the tire kickers, it's just I land about 90% of those jobs. So it's just knowing your numbers and not, you know what I mean? And then going through the process and then you're not just driving somewhere and for no reason. So
Yeah. That was a good thing. And I was going to kind of bring that up earlier. So I guess let's touch on it real quick before we leave is if you're going to go give somebody an estimate, it's a 100% in-person estimate. Like you won't do Google Earth and measure their driveway or.
For smaller projects, I'll have them, if they don't use our quick quote or our app on our website, if it's smaller projects, I will ask for just a picture too, and just to get an idea of the area and then give them a rough number from there. And if they're good with that, then I still like to go see just to, see what we have to do before time or if I need anything else. But yeah, I like doing that. Just again, what's the only thing we don't have more time of is time. So it's just, that is one way. Again, our website deal helps a lot too. And it's it's done a lot in the last 2, 3 years as far as wasting time.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, you don't want to say wasting, but it's just, especially when you're doing it after work, no one wants to be out till 7, 8 o'clock at night for something that you have a 50% chance of getting. So,
Yeah. No, it's true. Um, and it kind of does is a waste of time. At the end of the day, when we got families and a business to run, you got to
yeah,
start looking at your time. Time is valuable. And again, it's the one
yeah,
thing we're never getting back. And I don't think enough people put enough value on their own time, especially as an owner
no,
operator.
for sure. Yeah. I mean, again, it is part of the gig, but if you can find ways to uh, minimize that and just, like you said, more time with your friends, more time with your family, you got to find the small things that work for it. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. No, that's great. So, all right, guys. The link for the website and socials and stuff will be in the comment below. Derrick, appreciate your time. Thanks again for dropping these wisdom bombs on everybody. And yeah, it's always a pleasure to see you and obviously be a friend, of course, more than anything. So
yeah. No, thanks, Pete. It was awesome. I appreciate it.
yep, no, absolutely. So, all right, guys, that was another amazing episode of Beyond the Crete. Remember to please like and subscribe to the channel, and more importantly, try to share this with somebody that's going to get some value out of this. And so, if you guys are in the concrete, flat work, stamp work, decorative, or the coatings aspect, this industry needs leveling up. We need to make sure that everybody's raising their prices, doing quality work, and our homeowners are being taken care of. We bring more integrity to the industry, and that's what this podcast is all about. So, thanks for Derrick and everybody else who has been a guest on here. And stay tuned for the next episode. And if you guys have any questions, click the link for myself or Derrick in the comments, and we'll see you guys in the next one.